Mm-mm-mm. Well, time to begin. Welcome one and welcome all to my first online presentation. I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your valuable time and paying attention to this presentation of love versus fear. Here we discuss the topics of mind control, consciousness, natural law, common sense, philosophy, and freedom as it pertains to the people of Earth and the beings of the cosmos as a whole. I'd like to apologize in advance for all my mispronunciations or incorrectness. I am not a perfect or fully enlightened being by any measure. At the end of the day, I don't currently know how to prove to you the truth. I can only share my experience with you. The truth can only be understood by those who want to recognize it. We all have equal and infinite worth and potential. No matter what you or anyone else believes, it will never make this untrue. This presentation is my attempt to share that knowledge with you. In discovering my purpose that I have created, my sole mission is to educate, liberate, and inspire the consciousness of all in order to end all evil and suffering as defined later in this presentation. Before we begin, I encourage all to suspend any immediate reactions of disbelief and deeply listen without any preconditioned biases. I politely ask you to not accept or reject any of the information I'm presenting until viewing the entirety of the presentation. Do not blindly believe what I'm about to tell you. You need to eventually look into this information yourself and do personal introspection to really critically think and feel from inside of your own consciousness and awareness whether this information resonates with the truth or not. Everybody has that intuitive capacity to be able to recognize the truth. The only thing you should ever believe in is your ability to recognize the truth. For if you've been duped and fooled into believing there is no such thing as truth, or that it is too complex to even recognize, well, then your mind has already been lost. Stop listening to this presentation right now because the only thing that's going to wake you up from that level of pure ignorance and folly is an act of God, truth itself. The definition and etymology of definition and etymology is: a definition is an exact statement or finite, not infinite, something that's limited, a description of the nature, scope, or meaning of something, to limit, determine, or explain a statement of a meaning of a word. It is the degree of distinctness or clarity of an object, image, or sound. The more accurate our definitions for words or concepts are, the better our clarity of meaning and therefore our communication and understanding of those words or concepts will be. I encourage you to annotate and look up the definitions and etymologies of any words I use and don't define myself in order to get a more accurate and clear understanding of the meaning of this important information I'm about to present. Etymology. The definition of etymology is the study of the origin of words and the historical development of its meaning. The etymology of etymology means true, real, actual, and is the study of speaking, of true, of true sense and original meaning. It is the underlying semantic content of a name. It's important to understand the root of where words come from because that root is still carried in the branch meanings of the word. If you don't understand the etymology of a word as well as you do its slang or presently adopted definition, you will fail at communicating effectively and won't understand what the word was originally intended to mean when it was first spoken into existence, and you will be more apt to be led awry and deceived in communication due to your own misunderstanding. And this is the teachability bell curve. This also represents the brain imbalances of left and right hemisphere, which we will be dedicating to its own episode in the future. But I'll say something briefly about brain imbalances of the left and right hemisphere of the neocortex. People in left brain imbalance are usually more arrogant, cynical, and skeptical. People on the right form of brain imbalance are usually more trusting, gullible, and naive. People in the left form of brain imbalance are more apt to take on the notion of determinism, and this is the notion that there is no such thing as free will, and that everything in the universe is merely cause and effect, and nothing can exist outside cause, and all effects are limited to their cause. And this is ultimately saying there's no such thing as free will. God or cause or whatever is controlling everything, and no matter what you do was predetermined. And the right brain of imbalance is equally bad. This is saying nothing's determined. Everything is random and chaotic, and there's no such thing as God or cause, and everything is just a cosmic fart, essentially. So we got to look, in order to be in the best position to learn, is being in the center or the middle, where truth is usually found in the balance between two extremes. So this is going to mean that there is such thing as free will, but it does not exist outside the boundaries of consequences, meaning you can break the laws of nature, the cause and effect that set things into motion, but you cannot do so without consequence, negative consequences, mind you. All right? So we will be looking at that in the further future episodes as well. The teachability bell curve is going to illustrate where we need to be in order to bring in the most quality information and be in the best position to learn, which is the balance between teacher and student. This is because in reality, we are all teachers and we are all students, learning from the experiences of each other and teaching by the example we lead. Being in the balance between two extremes, as truth always is, it means that you are somewhat skeptical and you are somewhat trusting. It means you are able to hold a proposition or an idea in your mind without fully accepting it or rejecting it immediately. So it's important to consider all information with an open mind, but not too open to the point you lack any discernment whatsoever. And this is one out of many of the ways you can come to realize and understand the truth. This is known as the TRIVIUM method of gathering truth. The first step of the TRIVIUM is inputs. If you're thinking it in terms of a computer, you got to input the grammar or the knowledge. This is gathering data from an eclectic array of sources without prejudging it. Answers like who, what, when, where, the raw data. The second step of the trivium is the processing step, the logic, the understanding. This is comprised of three basic sub-steps: filtration, correlation, and analysis. The quadrivium is largely utilized here, which we will get into the next slide. This enables us to learn why, the question of all power. What is the reason, meaning, or purpose behind? In the output, I would say they're all equally important, but this is perhaps one of the more important ones. The output rhetoric, wisdom, speech and action based upon the knowledge that one has gathered and understands. This is how knowledge and understanding are propagated so that real and positive change can be created. This is bringing us to the quadrivium. The first step of the quadrivium is arithmetic, the air sign, the study of quantity involving the combination of numbers through addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, pure construct and abstraction. The second step is geometry, the earth sign, a branch of mathematics concerned with shape, size, relative position, and the properties of space. The arithmetic of space is geometry. And geometric patterns, sacred geometry, which we'll spend plenty time in its own episode in depth. But for now, I'll just briefly go over the quadrivium. The third process is music, what I like to say moves the universe. It's the water sign. Art form which employs vibration, rhythm, dynamics, and the interplay between sound and silence as its mediums for expression. This is the arithmetic of time. And then the fourth expression of quadrivium is astronomy, This is the fire sign, a natural science that deals with the study of celestial objects such as stars, planets, comets, nebulas, and galaxies. The arithmetic of time and space is astronomy. And this is how our reality is ultimately built. First three steps you could look at too as the trivium. The knowledge is the base, or the knowledge or the lack thereof. This is available information. This constitutes as potential knowledge that may be gathered, processed, understood, and acted upon by individuals. If you really think about it, all knowledge is potential knowledge. It's what we do with that knowledge that determines a positive or negative outcome. Okay? The second step is understanding, or lack thereof. This is the decision-making process. These processes take place in the human mind and are chosen by each individual based upon available information. The third is wisdom, or lack thereof. Human behavior. Each individual's behavior is based upon the quality of their decision-making processes, which in turn are based upon the quality of their available information. This means good information comes out, good information goes, or good behavior. Bad information comes out in, bad information goes, or bad behavior goes. And what goes is what's going to be the fourth step, or the generated result, the order or the chaos, manifested reality. The quality of the condition which manifests in any society is based upon the aggregate quality of human behavior within that society. And pretty much every slide I'm going over, I am going to make my own episode, basically just discussing this information in more detail. But for now, I'm going to briefly go over all of this. The requirements for change. Human beings say they want certain conditions to be present for both themselves, their species, and all life as a whole, such as happiness, health, freedom, peace, prosperity, etc., etc. However, if specific requirements for obtaining those conditions are not met, those conditions do not just manifest automatically by magical means. Conditions that you want don't magically and automatically exist just by thinking about them or having a feeling about them. The concept that we can meditate our way out of slavery and feel and just believe everything will be okay and it will be fine is just a misconception and a new age deception. True it may be, a negative mind never creates a positive life, and positive thoughts and feelings help shape and create our reality. Yet these are two puzzle pieces with a missing required part. If you want something to be different from the way it is, the default conditions. If you don't want change, or you're okay with the way things are now, and or you just don't care to change, no requirement is necessary whatsoever. So what are these requirements? The faculties of thought and feeling can only get us so far, but nonetheless are still required in order for true change. Positive thought and feeling are required for positive change. We need to know certain things. Knowledge is required, especially the kind of knowledge that will spur us into action. Ultimately, it's action that is required. That is the missing key. Since human beings as a species do not already have the things they say they want, it follows logically that the knowledge of the requirements to obtaining the things that we say we want either must be absent, or if present, that information must be willfully being ignored. As long as this knowledge continues to remain unknown or ignored, the manifestations of the desired conditions will not be possible in fullness. And this is where we're going to get into occult knowledge. There's hidden knowledge held by the few, and I would like to call them the 1%, the people in power, true knowledge, and then they hold it from the few and keep the ignorant masses enslaved in the unknown. Simply, the word occult is derived from the Latin adjective occultus, meaning hidden, which comes from the Latin verb occultare, to hide, to conceal, or to keep secret. This is what occult knowledge is. It's hidden knowledge. The word occult is also derived from the Latin noun oculus, which means eye. The word ocular in English means related to sight or of connected with the eyes or vision. So occulted knowledge is a body of knowledge that has been hidden away from the perception or sight of the masses for the specific reason to control the perception of those without this knowledge, which we will be getting into the reasoning behind this motive in depth later on in this presentation. The information regarding true care and natural law is occulted knowledge. It is information that has been hidden away from humanity and understood by less than a few individuals during the present making of this video. The two bodies of occult knowledge, as spoken of in the ancient mystery traditions, are known as the Greater Arcana and the Lesser Arcana. The word arcana is also Latin and it means knowledge. It is derived from the adjective arcane, which also means secret or hidden, concealed or private. The root source is also traced back to the Greek's ark. And an ark is one of the most stable structures known to man, along with the pyramid, meaning to hold, contain, or guard. Traced to the American root argel, obstacle, and from Lithuanian raktas, meaning key. So the gist of all this is that knowledge is the key which will set you free, and the ultimate knowledge, which we will also in due time be getting into, is love. The lesser or minor arcana is knowledge of the microcosm, or the microcosmic universe, or the knowledge of the individual monad of consciousness, knowledge of the small things. It doesn't mean it's the less important, it means it's dealing with the individual units of consciousness, or the psyche of the individual. This body constitutes the laws of nurture that govern psychology and how it works, how it operates, and what our motivations and desires really are. The greater or major arcana, and this does not refer to it being more important, it refers to it being the knowledge of the macrocosm or the macrocosmic understanding. This constitutes the laws of nature that govern the universe as a whole, which such universal laws like gravity, for example, are immutable and binding to all objects in the entire universe. That's a picture of the King of Swords in the Lesser Arcana deck of the Tarot, which we'll also be dedicating episodes to in the future. Natural law. The word the word natural is derived from Egyptian and other Middle Eastern traditions, languages. The word neter from Egyptian literally means the all one, divine father, mother, creator. Others also translated it into growth, renewing life and rebirth, which symbolizes reincarnation. Neter ultimately means spirit in ancient Egyptian, and the suffix al, even in English today, but if you go back into Arabic languages and ancient Middle Eastern languages, al as a suffix means of or related to, or having come from or pertaining to. So reasoning as follows: natural means of or relating to the realm of spirit or God, which is the animating of vital principle of life itself. Life which is all around us, pervading intrinsically and inherent in everything. Nature. Natural law constitutes the body of laws that operate in the mental realm or dominion of causality, or the ultimate reality, and manifest in the physical domain, or the realm of effects. Natural law is universal, non-man-made, binding and immutable principles that govern consequences of behavior and actions of all sentient life. These spiritual laws, which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness, have been called many names in many ancient traditions, such as the Golden Rule, the law of cause and effect, consequentialism, karma dharma, the law of attraction, and my favorite, common sense. Natural law, aka law of cause and effect, is simply put, effect invariably follows cause. For every action there exists an equal and opposing reaction. Law of attraction states the energy you emit is the energy you attract. Energy flows where attention goes. As you think, feel, and act, so you shall be. And the law of karma or moral law is you reap what you sow. And golden rule is do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And in the apathetic or negative sense, it's do not do unto others as you would not do unto yourself. And I would say this to all the Satanist and Masculinists out there, because a Masculinist would love to be beaten by a Satanist, but not of their own free will, not their own free will. So do not do unto others as you would not have done unto yourself. And these are the general principles of natural law, also known as the principles of Hermeticism, which we'll be dedicating videos to in the future as well. Going over them briefly, the principle of mentalism, the all is mind. The mind is, or consciousness is, the substance of reality, or of all of creation. The principle of correspondence means as above, so below, as within, so without. The principle of vibration means that everything vibrates, nothing's at rest. Everything is alive, everything is life in motion. Life and motion are one. The principle of polarity means all things are dual. All things have opposites. Okay? Hot, cold, sharp, dull, tall, small, you, me, yin, yang. The principle of rhythm means everything's at a rhythm, an ebb and a flow, a to and a fro, like a pendulum swing. The principle of cause and effect we just talked about in the last slide, and the principle of gender states that all things have male and female principles, masculine and feminine energy. Natural law is based upon principles and truth, inherent to creation or nature itself, harmonized with, due to knowledge and understanding, universal, exists and applies anywhere in the entire universe regardless of location, eternal and immutable, exists and applies for as long as the universe exists, and it cannot be changed. Man's law is based upon dogmatic beliefs, constructs of mind, complied with due to fear of punishment, and differs with location based upon the whim of legislators, and changes with the time based upon the whim of legislators. This is what is known as moral relativism. Now here's the difference between force and violence. Force is the capacity to do work or cause physical change, energy, strength, and active power. Action, which is in harmony with morality and natural law because it does not violate other rights, is what force is. Action which one always possesses the right to take includes defense against violence. Okay, these are the two very important principles of enlightenment you need to understand is the non-aggression principle. No one has the right to take violence against anyone else, and the self-defense principle. We all possess the right to defend ourselves against violence, and violence is the immoral initiation of physical power to coerce, compel, or restrain. The key word is initiation. No one has the right to initiate the harm. But when someone initiates harm against you or violence against you, you have the right to put up equal force to the force that or the violence that they're putting up. Okay? But you do not have the right to increase that force beyond the force that they are putting up once you already put the force down, or I should say the violence down. Violence is coercive action, which is in opposition to morality and natural law because it involves the violation of others' rights. Action which one never possesses the right to take. No one has the right to harm anybody else, guys. No one has the right. There's only 7 ways you can harm someone else, 7 natural law transgressions that violate people's rights, and that's murder, assault, rape, coercion, lying, trespassing, and stealing. And ultimately, it's all stealing. All rights are property rights given and bestowed upon us by the Creator. This is the difference between right and wrong. Rights are correct because they're based in truth, moral, and based in natural law. Rights are actions that are based in it do not result in harm to other sentient beings. A wrong is incorrect because it's not based in truth. It's immoral and not based in natural law and morality. Actions based in it result in harm to other sentient beings. This is common sense, folks. These are the natural law expressions. The first expression is the generative polarity, what we use to create our reality with. We can either create it with the positive expression, love, pure consciousness, or we can, create it with the negative expression, which is fear, pure unconsciousness. The second expression is the initiating expression, which means initiation means how it starts. Knowledge is how consciousness starts. It's the base or the foundation of, and it's the acceptance of truth. Ignorance is how the negative initiation starts. It's the refusal of truth. Okay? It's ignorance. You're ignoring the truth. The third expression is an internal expression. It's what happens to us inside. Sovereignty, once you accept the truth, once you become conscious with love, you accept self-love, self-sovereignty, that's self-dominion or internal monarchy. That means you're in control of your own thoughts, your own actions, and your own feelings. If you are ignoring the self, ignoring the knowledge that you are present conscious awareness, if you ignore or refuse the truth and deny the self, you will be in a state of confusion. You will not know who you are or why you are, and you'll be in a state of internal anarchy, okay? Which we will talk about in the next slide, what anarchy truly means. The fourth expression of natural law is the external expression. This is what happens in society or outside the realms of the self. If we take in love, accept the truth of who and what we are, and we become internal monarchs, we control our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, freedom is what manifests. This is external anarchy. And if we do the exact opposite, control is what will manifest. This is external monarchy, meaning having other people rule over us and enslave us, which I don't think anybody wants truly deep down inside once they accept and know the truth. Okay, so the last expression of natural law is the manifestation, or the result we create in the reality we all share collectively. The positive expression of love can only create order, the manifested good, and the negative result of fear can only invariably create chaos, which is manifested evil. You cannot create order with fear, ignorance, confusion, or more control. And you cannot create chaos with love, knowledge, sovereignty, and more freedom. Just invariably doesn't work that way. This is what the word anarchy means. From the Greek prefix an means without, the absence of, and the Greek noun archon means masters or rulers. Anarchy means no rulers, no masters. Anarchy does not mean without rules. It literally means without rulers, okay? I did a word association game with like all of my friends, and 9 out of 10 times, all the time pretty much, I told them, what's the first word that pops into your head when I say no masters, no rulers? 9 out of 10 times they would say freedom. Freedom's the first word that pops into my head. Then I would say, what's the first word that pops into your head when I say anarchy? And 9 out of 10 times, most people, if not all people, would say chaos, because they've been programmed and brainwashed into thinking true freedom, true external anarchy looks like or is chaos, which is furthest from the truth. Yes, internal anarchy is chaos, because that means There are no rulers and there are no masters of the self. You do not love yourself. You do not know yourself. You're not a sovereign of yourself. You need to become a monarch of yourself and know thyself so you can prevent external rulers from claiming ownership over you and claiming authority over you. So we need both. We need anarchy and monarchy. We need internal monarchy and external anarchy, which means no rulers or no masters over anybody else. That's what equality looks like under natural law. Everyone has the exact same rights. No one has any more or less rights than anyone else. Also, since rights are not created by humanity, and since they are the birthright of humanity, gifted to us and endowed by us by the creator of the universe, no human being or group of human beings is actually capable of granting rights to anyone else, or nor is any human being capable of revoking rights from anyone else. They can try, but it's always an illegitimate claim, and it's the ignorant masses that allow them, without a fight, to make this claim. But it's never a right in under the umbrella of natural law, which is God's law. Law of freedom. Freedom and morality are directly proportional. As morality increases, freedom increases. As morality declines, freedom declines. Another way of stating this law would be to say that the presence of truth and morality in the lives of the people of any given society is inversely proportional to the presence of tyranny and slavery in that society. As truth and morality decrease, tyranny and slavery will inevitably rise. Freedom versus slavery. Slavery, it only works better when the slaves don't know they're slaves. Because if they physically knew they were slaves, they would revolt and try and physically break out of their chains. But if you provide them an illusion of choice by letting them vote, so by voting such a joke because people get provided an illusion of choice, but it's just a Hegelian dialectic. Which hand do you want me to punch you in the face with, my right hand or my left hand? Either way, I'm going to punch you in your face. It's just an illusion of choice. You got to look past the illusion and realize you don't have to make that choice. There's another choice you can make, and you can choose true freedom. Freedom is the product of love, and that is good, based in truth. To understand freedom is to understand the infinite value and potential of all life. When you understand the magnitude of your own worth, evil will always fail. Our liberty comes with the understanding of the mind, of consciousness, of who we are. Slavery is the product of fear and all that is evil, based in lies. To understand slavery, look no further than the ignorance of truth, love, and liberty, which is individual sovereignty, internal monarchy, and external anarchy. Evil is the destruction of freedom, and forever seeks to limit your choice, diminish your value, and destroy your free will. Ultimately, everything is consciousness. Consciousness is the substance everything's made of. Everything is connected and everything is energy, vibrating at a certain frequency, and this is an ancient symbol that represents consciousness, the yin and the yang, which again dedicate an entire video on the yin and the yang. This is just the foundation of my work I'm trying to lay down, and we will be going in depth, and I hope you do your own research to help confirm or reject the information I'm presenting. So maybe you can write in the comment section, hey, you actually got this thing wrong. And that's how I learn, guys, is through teaching, through putting this information back out there. That's the TRIVIUM method. You have to put the information back out so it can be scrutinized and so you can learn and grow from your mistakes. This is what consciousness is our thoughts, emotions, or feelings, I prefer to say, and our actions, our dominion, our sovereignty of ourself, our love of ourself, and then our freedom of ourself and the world. And I went one too far. Heed these words, you who wish to probe the depths of nature. If you do not find within yourself that which you seek, neither will you find it outside. If you ignore the wonders of your own house, how do you expect to find the other wonders? In you is hidden the treasure of all treasures. Know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods. In other words, know the microcosm, and you will know the macrocosm. All knowledge and wisdom of value ultimately is self knowledge, for it is God within you awaiting for your discovery, so that you can express divine love into this world. Consciousness is much more than just being physically awake. It's the ability to understand information. All these words, thoughts, emotions, actions, love, dominion, freedom, are like colors of the rainbow and ultimately make up the body of light that is God, or pure universal conscious awareness of the present moment. The word consciousness, which is a noun, is derived from the Latin conscientia, knowledge or experience within oneself, or consciere, con as the word forming element prefix meaning together or with, and sciere meaning to know. So consciere means to know together, or literally with knowledge, but is probably originally related to scindere, meaning to separate or distinguish one thing from another, from high root ski, meaning to cut or split. And consciere has developed a meaning as the faculty of knowing what is right or wrong, truth or lie, within oneself or in one's own mind, a moral sense. Conscious is knowledge of the true innermost authentic self, and all our thoughts, desires, intentions, and feelings. The etymology of conscious, which is the adjective and an evolved word from consciere, as we just talked about, but has been developed in its meaning as a Greek loan translation meaning knowing privy to, or the sense of knowledge or perceiving within oneself, sensible, inwardly aware. The definition of consciousness is all of these words. It's everything. It's love, truth, freedom. It's our thoughts, feelings, and actions, unified. And it's the characteristics of being generally regarded to comprise qualities such as subjectivity, self awareness, sentience, sapience, and the ability to perceive the relations between oneself and one's environment. And in an even more simplified definition, it's the ability to be of a being to recognize patterns, symbols, cycles, and meaning with respect to events taking place both in the realm and in which the self exists and operates in. We must become conscious and truly sovereign, or masters of the self and the inner dominion of our consciousness, which is heaven or divinity or God within. And we must give up our control of ruling and oppressing others unwillfully, or we will forever be a slave to our ignorance and ultimately fear. Consciousness is common sense, the definitive knowledge of the objective difference between right and wrong according to natural law. I say it's common sense because it's everywhere. It's common. Okay? If you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. My attempt to define love. I got a few typos here, but bear with me. Love is infinite, beyond the physical measure. With merely limited words, love is the highest degree of infinity in all things good. However, we can still try and understand and define the lower degrees of love with our consciousness. I emphasize lower degrees because love is the highest frequency and degree of consciousness. Love is connected openness through and through, and spirituality is the practice of love. Love is the ecstasy of inspiration. Love is ultimate truth, and like the sun, the truth shines above all and is the foundation of all life. Love is ultimate consciousness. Love is the foundational force of existence, reality, and of all creation. To better understand it, We will look at how other cultures and philosophers explain what love is in the future episodes. First, I'll give my definition of love, which I'm sure will change as I raise my awareness and consciousness and discover more, which is essentially what we all ought to be doing, which is expanding our consciousness into ever more. But until then, so far on my journey, I've discovered that love, with all caps, which is to be distinguished from lowercase love, for love is the highest frequency and degree of infinity energy can reach. Love is ultimate truth, and therefore love is enlightenment. Love is all truth, all pervading, and all encompassing inside, outside, and in between everything exists love. But these words are merely describing qualities of love. Love is the realization of universal oneness. Love is God, all power, all beauty, and all wisdom, and all that exists and being. Love is the perfection of truth. Love is the expansive force of creation, consciousness, and all that helps us expand and connect ever outward, and observe and perceive everything, and experience and understand that we are a part of everything, and everything is love or consciousness. You are a creator of your own experience, and a powerful co creator of everything we collectively experience. When our thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned with the vibrational energy of love, we are in unity or Christ consciousness, which brings us balance, truth, freedom, and manifests inward harmony and expansion of our individual and collective consciousnesses. One can reconcile these two seemingly polar opposite states of being. The individual, which just means not divided within oneself. In is the prefix not, divided or dual, individual, and the collective of individuals that are apparently separate from oneself. If one would only realize as above, so below, as within, so without, what is projected externally is just a reflection, a fractal reflection of what is internal. Love manifests all knowledge and acceptance of truth, and wisdom. Wisdom is right application of truth, and the ability to think for ourselves and ask the question why. This ability allows us not only to recognize the truth, but to question the truth, which brings forth the opportunity to change that which is. For ultimate self rulership or self sovereignty, which is the ownership of one's own thoughts, feelings, and actions, which are the main three ways consciousness can express itself in the physical domain, love will always invariably manifest freedom or external anarchy, and order, which is manifested good and beauty, which is also known as morality or right action. It isn't a matter of if this will happen, it's a matter of when. And until the present moment where the aggregate population of conscious agents in the world stop ignoring the truth and employ the practice of self love, care, and empathy, we will continue to collectively suffer as slaves in fear, which is unconsciousness, and ignorance, which is refusal of the truth, which is will always invariably lead to more confusion, which is internal anarchy and control, which is external monarchy and chaos, which is manifested evil. The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. Socrates. And this is an anonymous quote. Ignorance is the root cause of all evil. Since only knowledge eradicates ignorance, it is our duty and moral obligation to educate ourselves as well as the masses around us. Mind control is the controlling of human perceptions and awareness. There are a myriad of facets, methods, and techniques to control others' perceptions, which we will in the future talk about, but for now, just know that they all boil down to ultimately three devices, or three weapons of mass mind control, as I'd like to call them, which are money, government, and fear, which we will all be defined in a brief moment. This is what I call the unholy trinity as opposed to the holy trinity, which is truth, love, and freedom. The definition of fear. Fear is the inverted polarity and the exact opposite of love. A lot of people think the opposite of love is hate, but if love is the expansive force that opens up consciousness, fear is the contractive force that shuts consciousness down, and it's the lowest frequency energy can vibrate at in the physical domain. If love being the first expression of natural law and the expansive, generative, and positive force of consciousness that helps us become open to the truth and expand our awareness, fear is the force that puts consciousness in a box, destroying its freedom, and prevents it from growing, keeping it stagnant and controlled. Fear is the basis for unconsciousness. You cannot willfully ignore or be unconscious of anything in particular unless you fear it. Fear is what shuts consciousness down. Fear is what obfuscates the truth and provides an illusion of separation. Fear is the contractive, negative, and destructive force for consciousness. Fear is the force which influences us to become closed to the truth, and the force which ultimately shuts down our awareness. If we are in a state of fear, regret, guilt, or anxiety, we are not free. No matter what position we hold in society or how much money we have, real freedom comes when we realize our suffering and come home with our present to the now. Present awareness of our fullness as present moment awareness. Freedom is the most precious thing there ever is. It is the product of love and the foundation of happiness, and it is unavailable to us while we remain in a state of fear. Love versus fear. The etymology of love from Proto-Germanic "lubo" and sourced also of the High German "lubi" or "libu", which means joy, which is an erotic pleasure or bliss, and it is what love or ultimate truth or all truth will bring. It's a sort of childlike wonder and feeling of ecstasy when you realize what love is, and that you really are ultimately free. Love from German Lob meaning praise, the German Pi root Lebu meaning to care, desire, and care and desire, which are the core quintessential qualities of love. The etymology of fear is also Proto-Germanic "feres", meaning danger, and Old Norse "far", meaning harm, distress, or deception. And this is where some New Age movements get the idea that fear is simply false evidence appearing real, and to overcome it is to ignore it and pretend like there is no fear or there is no evil, which is the worst thing you could possibly do, because by ignoring the negative, you are ensuring that more of it happens. I'm not saying to focus on fear. I'm saying in order to not focus on ignorance, which is the root of all evil, we have to face our fears and overcome them by way of courage and doing the right thing in spite of fear. The etymology of courage is cor, the Latin word for heart. So courage means to speak one's mind by telling one's heart, not by being a coward and allowing yourself to be silenced by fear. What it all comes down to is that so many people are unconscious, wandering around senseless and mindless because they are fearful. They are fearful of the responsibility that comes with knowing the truth, and most of all, they are fearful of having to act based upon knowledge, because that requires courage, that requires heart. The highest form of wisdom and love is self-love, and the highest form of self-love is self-control, and the highest form of self-control is the ability to let go. True power is knowing why, how, and when to let power go. To let yourself and others go is to let the energy of love grow and the universe flow. This can be the greatest yet hardest thing anyone can ever do in this journey called life. Most people are fixated on the destination, but I like to say the journey is the destination. I'm not here to tell you how to live. I'm here to tell you there's a better way to live other than living in fear. Ultimately, it's all consciousness, and ultimately you have a choice to make. You can choose fear and inaction and unconsciousness, confusion and chaos to rule over you, or you can choose love truth, and freedom, which is absolutely necessary to learn if we are willing to be free. Because when we let go of controlling others and love ourselves fully, order is what manifests. Let go of your ego, which is the attachment to the purely physical, materialistic, most outer self. Then we become our innermost, authentic, higher self, and we become truly free. Love knows no boundaries. Let go of external control, especially of others. Let go of material possessions you know deep down are no longer serving you. Be the change you want to see. Be and let be, because the best things in life are free, unless it's a disease, and I don't want it. Like I said, all rules have exceptions, including this one. Just know love is going to win in the end, and love will set us free. We are all in this together, and we all have to be here for each other because we are all we truly have. The more you lose fear and choose love, the more we all prosper and become free, because love creates a world you cannot control, and we all deserve a world where we can be free. That is your God given birthright. Suffering, the ignorance of that which is true, and the acceptance of that which is not true, is the only two reasons why we suffer. In other words, all suffering is the result of a belief in something that isn't true. The word suffering is derived from Latin suffare, from pi root sub meaning from below, and fere meaning to bear. So suffering's etymology means to bear from below, allow to occur and continue, to permit, tolerate, fail to prevent or suppress, but also to be made to undergo, endure, or be subjected to. Suffering is how the mind interprets pain. When we perceive the pain as beneficial, as in the pain of being bored when reading a book, or going to school, or the pain in muscle fibers tearing as we exercise, we do not say we are suffering. We say we are growing and developing. The solution to all suffering is within the present moment awareness, and that it exists within the realization that all pain isn't happening to you, but rather it's happening for you, so you can learn and grow in consciousness and expand your awareness through gnosis or true experience. In order to gain wisdom, wisdom is right application of knowledge and invariably always leads to the increased freedom. Folly is the wrong application of knowledge, which invariably always leads to unnecessary suffering. Certain truths are horrible, but if it is to change, it must be embraced as a lover. Make love to the present moment now, and do what you love, and what you came here to do, while you still can, without any excuses of not having enough money or not having enough time. Where there is a way, where there is a will, there is a way. Knowledge is the key. You just have to learn. And if the knowledge doesn't exist, you have to create it. You can do anything you set your mind to, especially after you suffered enough. I know better than most, suffering can be the greatest teacher. Because if you don't learn and continue to ignore the truth about morality and karma in this life, you will suffer greatly, and then you will die. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. The truth. There is nothing new under the sun. This phrase means you will not be seeing anything new here today in my presentation. The truth is singular and eternal. It always has been here and it always will be here. It is our perception of and awareness of that must be aligned with it. Truth is objective, meaning that it is not based on the perceptions of human beings, which is capable of wavering. Truth is simply that which is and that which has occurred, eternally been, that which always eternally been. There is no truth that you cannot learn. In our folly and ignorance of the truth, we will be enslaved by our own fear of the truth. However, in our wisdom in accordance with the truth, we will be free by our own love of the truth. All truths are half-truths and all rules have exceptions to the rule, including this one. This means there is such thing as absolute, simple, and elegant truth in a singular, objective, ultimate reality, where we all are existing in His love as one. And simultaneously, there is a subjective reality, truth, relative truth, and many degrees of infinite amounts of complex unrealities, where we all exist as separate individuals in fear. The true great work is bringing our awareness neither to the future, anxiety, nor the past, depression, but to the present moment, which is peace, which is where the balance between the real and the unreal, where the truth and fullness eternally exist and awaits us. Here's my service to the truth. Truth can never be destroyed, but humanity can be destroyed when we refuse to act in service to truth as her defenders. And yes, it does need to be defended because it is constantly under attack by misinformation, lies, evil, fear, and deception. It is possible for us as to co-create as positive outcome, but this can only be accomplished if we care enough to learn the truth ourselves and then develop the courage to continuously speak it to others. Belief is irrelevant. Human belief is completely irrelevant when it comes to the existence and operation of natural law, just as it's irrelevant in relation to any other natural laws of nature, such as gravity, inertia, momentum, thermodynamics, or electromagnetism. None of those laws care if you believe in them or not. They work all the time, immutably, regardless of your belief. Similar to such other phenomena of nature, the workings of natural law, aka morality, require no belief in order to know them, to be discovered and known. Belief versus faith versus dogma. Faith is the courage to test ideas for truth. With faith, people discover whether ideas are true or false. With faith, people learn principles. With it, we often fail, but we always learn. Faith is the idea, faculty, or power of the mind, born of the spirit, of intuition, of intuition and inspiration. And faith is the insurance and substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things that are not physically apparent. Faith is derived from the Latin root fide, meaning to trust. Trust in what you ask. Trust in your innermost true self and the innermost divine truth within you. Belief is the confidence and esteem reposed in a person or thing and the conviction of the truth of a proposition or alleged fact without knowledge. It can also mean the absolute conviction or certainty which accompanies knowledge. Because why wouldn't you believe in what you already know, think, or feel to be true? Many use faith and belief interchangeably, but I would like to distinguish the two as faith meaning the courage to test ideas for truth, and belief meaning the confidence, conviction, or esteem reposed in an alleged fact. You should always have faith, but I think the only thing you should ever believe in is your ability to recognize the truth. So ultimately, question everything, keep your faith, and believe in yourself and your infinite worth, value, and potential. Don't let others put their limitations on you because you can create your own reality and believe in your own ability to recognize the truth and the reality we are all collectively sharing. Dogma is likened to a sort of blind and erroneous belief or ideological construct of the mind, with absolutely no way of testing to be true or falsifiable. It's a Latin and Greek word that literally means opinion, or that which one thinks is true. Many examples of dogma, which we will be talking about in later episodes, are money, solipsism, moral relativism, social Darwinism, and eugenics, etc., etc. These are also pillars of the Church of Satan. These are dogmatic beliefs they try and propagate on the masses to keep them a dumbed down herd. These are erroneous beliefs that have no bearing in objective absolute reality, but are usually presented by a perceived authority, such as government, religion, and even scientists as incontrovertibly true. The biggest dogmatic lie ever told is that there is no such thing as truth, and you have to believe in the truth most certainly does exist. Otherwise, you're not actively searching for it. The word government, from Latin verb gubernare, means to control, and the Latin noun mens or mente means mind. The etymological origin of the English suffix ment is often debated, yet it is overwhelmingly clear that those who created the English language deliberately chose mens, the Latin word for mind, to mean the state of, or the condition of, in direct keeping with the first principle of natural law, the principle of mentalism, which demonstrates that in order for any particular thing, event, circumstance, state, or condition to exist as it currently does in our manifested reality, the plane of effects, it must have existed first in the mind, the plane of causality. So government, the Latin verb gubernare, to control, and the Latin noun mens, meaning mind, quite literally means mind control. There's no way around this. Government is a euphemism for mind control, aka slavery. There is only one true divide that separates humanity into two distinct types of individuals. The criterion for this divide is whether or not the individual believes in authority, believes in government, believes in mind control, and therefore believes that there is a legitimacy to slavery, versus the individual that believes that there is no legitimacy to that claim of authority and that all of us have equal rights and we all deserve to be free. This is what truly divides us. Statism is the brilliant idea that we give a small group of people the right to kidnap, imprison, harass, steal from, and kill people so that we can be protected from people who kidnap, harass, steal, and kill people. This is the ultimate cognitive dissonant fallacy. We pay murderers, rapists, and thieves to protect us from murderers, rapists, and thieves just because we want an illusion of freedom and to feel safe. And Benjamin Franklin said it the best: those who value safety over freedom will get neither. A statist is an individual who erroneously believes that there is such thing as this thing called authority vested in certain human beings, magically given to them as the right to rule over other people. This perceived authority means that certain people who we call government have the moral right to issue commands to those whom they rule, those under their jurisdiction, and that their subjects, aka their slaves, have a moral obligation to obey their arbitrary dictates and laws set by their masters. Most simply put, a statist is someone who believes the legitimacy of slavery. Authority is the one true false religion. Comes from the etymology author. An author is a writer, someone who makes a right or writes the truth. People can't create rights and delegate rights. Authority is an illusion born out of mind control, based entirely in violence, and built upon the erroneous and dogmatic belief that some people are masters who have the moral right to issue commands and others are slaves who have the moral obligation to obey the masters. Through their fear of the possibility of chaos, true freedom, most people advocate the legitimacy and continuance of authority and government, and are therefore actually advocating the legitimacy and continuance of violence and slavery. Know your rights. Taxation is the claim that a group of people who call themselves government have been given the right to confiscate an arbitrarily chosen percentage of the product of another individual's labor, a form of property, when whether or not that other agrees to share that product voluntarily. Taxation is enforced by a threat of violence, behavior resulting in bodily harm, or imprisonment, the taking away of physical freedom of movement, if, if those from whom the product is being seized attempts to resist the confiscation. This practice is always justified, made into a right, by those who claim that such a practice is necessary and required to uphold the common good. If we define slavery as the involuntary confiscation of 100% of the product of labor of another human being, we can clearly see that there is no magical percentage to which we could lower the number other than 0% that would no longer constitute slavery. If we are being honest with ourselves, taxation is merely a euphemism for theft, violence, and slavery. The practices upon which it is actually based. It's based in coercion, since no individual anywhere on earth has the right to claim ownership over the products of another's labor. Such behavior can never be delegated to a group and called a right. Therefore, all forms of taxation are always wrong according to natural law. And this is the lost word. In the enlightened state of consciousness generated through the knowledge of natural law, a human being is finally able to speak the lost word, which is no. Not only N-O, but it's K-N-O-W. We have to have the knowledge to know how to say no. No is the word of all power. Only when we say no to those who would claim to be our owners, those who claim that it is they who will decide which rights we have or do not have, do we stop externalizing our power to anyone outside of us, outside of ourselves. And in doing so, we reclaim all of our rights. Sadly, very few people in our would world have the knowledge, care, and courage that is required to do this. This is why this all powerful word is considered lost. Religion, from the Latin verb religare, to tie back, to hold back, to thwart from forward progress, to bind. A system of control based in unchallenged dogmatic belief which holds back the progress of consciousness. Religion, just like all words or information, isn't inherently good or bad. It's in fact how we use the word and apply the words and information that give it its connotation, its meaning. Religion in the positive sense is that which ties or binds collective consciousness together, which is the force of love. So as much as I don't like to use the word religion and prefer the word spiritual, as it is most certainly religion, the negative use of the word today, it is accurate to say love is my religion. And the only thing that ties or binds me is the absolute truth, which is objective, singular, and connects us all as collective consciousness. And these are the grassroots solutions for real and positive change. One of the solutions that's not on this list is forgiveness. Forgiveness means to give for. You're giving good for the wrong that's been done. You're not initiating harm on someone who's initiated harm against you. Yes, you match their violence with equal force, but after that, you give good. You forgive. You give for. Two wrongs don't make a right, all right? So forgiveness is huge, and it should have been on this list, but we have to heal our worldview, okay? Let go of this poison negative world that the view of change is impossible, and it's always been this way and it will always be this way, or I'm so small and the world's so big. This is just completely ignoring the butterfly effect. You got to change the quality of your attention. All right, we have to develop present moment awareness and change our diet. The etymology of diet, it means the way of life. Diet is not just the food we eat. Yes, the food we eat is comprised of information and energy vibrating at a certain frequency, so we have to be conscious of what we eat, but we have to be also conscious of who we surround ourselves with, because that's who we're going to become. And the TV and the media and the music that we consume, all the information down to the books we read, to the people we're around, to everything we consume into our mind, body, and spirit is what the diet is. So changing that diet and raising our frequency to that of love, of truth, and giving. We have to detach from the monetary system and being dependent on government and religion and all these external forces that claim that it's outside of us. We have to turn our eye within, inwardly, and be truly self-loving, truly self-governing, truly self-autonomous, and self-sustainable, and self-productive. We have to create our own food and learn how to grow our own food and create our own energy. And it takes a lot of learning and time, and you just have to be patient with yourself and tell yourself you can be the engine Positive thinking, is on this list. You gotta think you can, and you can. It's all about treating yourself with love and respect and taking the responsibility to do that. Responsibility is your ability to respond. It's not easy, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. I promise you that. We have to stop supporting these external dominators and giving them power, externalizing our power and giving them our time and attention. You have to develop mindfulness, and the use of entheogens in a conscious context can be very powerful to free our minds if we do the research and use them right. I've used many entheogens myself that I will dedicate hours of content on talking about the uses of DMT, LSD, psilocybin, mescaline, peyote, all the different types, iboga, ayahuasca, that can do wonders for the soul and wonders for the human psyche. So the conscious context, the use of entheogens, not using them just to get fucked up, because if you use them just to get fucked up in a negative party context, which I'm not saying you can't do, but abusing that system, you will get fucked up. You might be able to get away with it one or two times, but it does take its toll, just like everything does. Too much of anything is bad. Not enough of anything, certain things is bad. So it's all about that balance again and knowing thyself, knowing your own limits. And they're not necessary, okay? Just putting that out there. And ultimately, we have to help others to awaken, all right? So what we do to others is what we get back. And if you want to get help, you got to help others. It's as simple as that. One of the other things is Gnostic studies, or Gnosticism, is another solution to the current human condition. Gnostic, from late Latin gnosticus, meaning a Gnostic, from late Greek gnostikos, noun, use of an adjective, gnostikos, meaning knowing, able to discern, able to learn, to come to know, especially through experience, is what I believe the spiritual teachings of Hermeticism and Gnosticism truly are. It's knowledge through experience. And the best experience I can share with you is that the biggest solution I've discovered is within the realization that we are all connected. We are all one, interconnected, and exist within unity. We all must come together and love each other and ourselves equally. Love others as we would love ourselves. Go experience life on your own. Don't just listen to others and believe what they say, and don't just take my word for it. Do the work yourself. Walk through the door yourself. All the wise teachers and ascended masters you find can only point to the door you must ultimately walk through. So yes, do the research and take an eclectic of vast information, but be discerning in the quality of the sources of information you take in, and what is equally important is go and do experiments on your own. Don't just rely on the research, do the experiments. Be self-governing, self-discovering, and independent as possible. Experience the wonders of your innermost and outermost self with others, but also on your own. It's that balance. What everything in life's all about. The balance between is where you will find the truth. Care. The eighth lost principle of natural law. I named the title of this presentation, Why You Should Care in the Heart of Natural Law, because this is what it's all about. One of the problems in our society is that not only people don't know the truth and don't believe in the truth, many people nowadays know the truth but simply don't care. The apathy for the world and the beings that live in the world is why things are not going to change until these conditions cease in operation. So the true great work is educating and inspiring true care in the hearts of others. Because it's one world, folks, and what happens to this one world happens to all whom live in it. What we do to the world and others, we ultimately do to ourselves. If we limit the freedom of one, we limit the freedom of all. By preventing what good that one individual could have brought to the collective, when we put out truth, love, and freedom, we will inevitably, unwaveringly get back truth, love, and freedom. However, if we put out more lies, fear, and evil, we will only get back more deception and evil and ultimately slavery, which is where we are as a society today, if you haven't noticed. This is the real law of attraction. The solution is caring with empathy and realizing we ought to strive to help each other alleviate our suffering on a universal level until we are truly equal, because as one suffers, all suffer. This is common sense, and if we all knew it, we all could prosper beyond imagination in a snap of the finger. Care requires empathy, or the ability to put yourself in others' shoes and perceive the world from their perspective. Empathy is derived from the German word Einfühlung, in plus Fühlung, meaning feeling. It was a translation of the Greek word empathia, meaning passion or a state of motion, which emotion is really just energy in motion or an expression of consciousness. Energy flows where attention goes. Empathy, from an assimilated form of Greek empathos, em from pi root en, meaning in or into, within, and pathos derived from quinth, which means to suffer. So empathos means either feeling in or feeling with, or to suffer in or to suffer with. Now, care is not considered to be related to Latin cura in its positive sense, such as have inclination or fondness for, but I'm more interested in care as a verb, meaning charge oversight, attention, or heed, with view of protection. What we care for is the object of matter of concern. Unfortunately, care is considered by many as the lost principle of love. It is lost because we are not exercising true care. True care is considered to be the generative principle of all of creation, or the seed of life. This is the principle which governs creation, otherwise known as the causal factor that goes into effect and generates the results that we say we want. What you care about is what you are giving attention to and helping grow. This is what you're focusing upon. Focus is attention over time, or the focal point of consciousness convergence. What we give focus on is what we center our activity or energy in. Attention and time are the only true spiritual currencies of care. That's why we say pay attention and spend time. We pay for something in return with our time and attention, and that something is our manifested reality. That's why we say time is money and the most valuable resource. You can make it, or you can lose track of time. Attention being the active direction of the mind, or consciousness, upon a particular focal point, and time being the duration we spend our mind in that one particular point of space. Entire episodes can and will be spent on talking about the illusion of time as a man-made construct, and what it really is. But for now, I'd like to spend more time focusing on care, because that's what this presentation is all about. Inspiring true care and wisdom, which is morally right action. What you focus upon is ultimately what's getting generated and created and growing. This is what you're giving your energy to and manifesting in the world's reality we all collectively share. Until the collective or aggregate population of the world starts to care about what's really happening, things are not going to change for the better. And ultimately, we won't get what we say we want, which is hopefully freedom, love, and equality for all. What we care about on a daily basis acts as the driving force of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. You have to care enough to learn, to develop the knowledge and wisdom. Then you have to have the courage to act on it in spite of fear. This is what unity consciousness is. It's unifying our thoughts, feelings, and actions in such a way that there is no contradiction between them or cognitive dissonance. As I think, so I feel, so I act. We care is the generator of the quality of our shared experience here on earth. What we care enough about to put our will behind and act upon is ultimately what gets manifested in the world. Action, or behavior, is ultimately what's generating our reality, and our actions are being driven by our care. If you learned anything from this presentation, just remember what you give is what you get. So always give love, not fear. Share this video with others and help get the word out. You know what they say, sharing is caring. That is the one great work, my friend. Truth, love, and freedom. The Holy Trinity. May God bless us all. These are a list of sources and links in the description as well. Thanks for paying attention. Most on the left are just books, so I hope you check them out because that's what I used to put this video together.